give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to our listeners and just briefly share your story, because you are somebody that doesn't just hear about GBV. You are, when they count the statistics and it talks about the situation in South Africa, you're a woman that falls under that statistic, because unfortunately you've had to survive gender-based violence. Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
Right. So it's call it a little twisted story.
Yeah.
I was a matric, just completed matric actually. I recall I had just received, this is the time when, we still received our matric results in December.
It was a big deal on
the
newspaper.
It was a big deal on the newspaper. And it was like this whole big deal. And I remember we had just gone through that, and, there was this whole excitement of what life has to offer me post this point in my life. And my brother had just turned 21 as well. And it was like a whole celebration at home around, these milestones and, the gift of life and everything that came with it. And halfway through that celebration, I was then taken at gunpoint. I recall we were walking, we're still on I was like, about 100, almost 200 meters away from home. And a car just stopped and they were asking for directions. And little did I know that trying to help somebody looking for directions at that point meant, a twist in my life. And I was taken at that point, and they threw me into their car, a Venture, and we drove. I remember as we were driving, I was pleading for my life, and the guys kept saying to me, Okuti, I talk too much and I should just keep quiet.
Are these strangers?
Strangers, don't know them, never met them before. And yeah, so while we are driving, I guess news at this point had already made it to my parents, and I had with me my phone, my cousin's phone as well, and both phones are ringing, and I can see the one is my dad, the other, is another family member, and they're trying to get hold of me, but I can't even answer them, because at the point where I tried, the trick of answer, leave the phone, don't say anything, at least they will hear something or whatever. But they got to see that I had the phones, and then they took them at that point. And it was a bit of a drive, all the way to the plots of Murray Hill. And I recall when we got to that point, after begging them for that entire drive, which felt like a lifetime, don't hurt me, at least take my body back to my family, or leave me at a place where they can find me, and all sorts of things, because the reality of the situation that we're living in this country says many don't even make it back home.
Yeah.
And many don't get to bury their children when they are taken. So I'm here, a vibrant young lady who is excited about what life has to offer, and I'm taken, and at this point I need to fight for the little bit of anything that's still left in me. And they took turns, and I recall trying to fight at some point, physically fighting, because I had tried to the verbal negotiations. At some point I even promised them money. I didn't know where it was going to come from, but I was like, my father can get you the money, just if you want the money, just take me back.
Yeah.
I tried so many tactics to try and escape that. Even tried jumping out of the car while it was driving. And we got to a point where, my attempts of getting out of the situation led me to a point where I am not just in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night, but this all happens at gunpoint with a knife here as well. And because to them I was fighting, and because I'm fighting they needed to.
So these are grown men, and you were about like a 17-18-year-old.
Yeah.
Did you ever find out who they were, why were they targeting your family, you, or anyone related to you?
I never got to find out why, but what I did find out, about a year or so later, one of them got arrested for a completely different crime, right? And they're in prison and they're narrating stories. I don't know if it was who's the boss in here, and let's exchange stories about what I've done and what I'm in here for, whatever. And he so happened to tell the story to somebody who knew my family. A guy who actually lived in the same neighborhood as us, who actually knew about this that happened.
Yeah.
And this guy then made contact to say, I need to speak to a particular person. I need to let them know
I know one of the perpetrators.
I know one of the perpetrators. Remember the story that happened? So.
Yeah.
I know the people who did it. I'm in prison right now with one of them.
Sure. Because I was about to ask, did the law actually take its course? Did the guys get did they get arrested for it?
No. My case never got resolved. It never got resolved, and sadly, I never even got the call to say, sorry, we're not investigating further. I found out that they had dropped it after my parents had gone to the police station countless times to try and find out where are we with this, what is happening, and so forth. So by the time I'm finding out that this person is in there, that case had already been dropped.
Yeah.
Sure, I know it can be reopened, but at that point then I'm thinking to myself, I saw what this did to my family. I saw what it did to my father. I saw what it did to my brother. And I started fearing, because we talk of the law, but there's always the question of who does the law really protect, right? And it happened to me, and I saw how my family was trying to find the justice and all of that. And I could see how furious they were. I could see what it was doing to them, and I started fearing that should they find that this guy's here,
then again something else might happen,
right?
And Tumi, I want to, because of time, just fast track a little bit. And when you walked in here, you are this beautiful young woman, full of life, full of hope, and I want you to tell me just a little bit about your healing journey and how you managed to get from that to this person that you are. Because as at that point you probably see yourself as a victim of gender-based violence. It can do so much to your hopes, your future hopes, the way you look at yourself, your esteem, your confidence, and it just damages a lot about your identity. What did healing look like for you, and what helped you get to the point where you are right now, where you know that there's definitely life after what you survived?
So I always break down the healing process that I went through into 3 different categories. The one was the denial, where it happened and then I got home and I was like, I cannot see and watch everybody around me hurt as much as they're hurting. If I'm okay, they will be okay, so let's suppress it. And immediately went into suppression mode and didn't want to talk about it, didn't want to think about it, so did anything and everything to just suppress it. To a point where I think my life started, progressing in such a way that seemed like it was a thing of the past and I was over it. But in reality, I wasn't, because while that was happening, and everybody saw the exterior Tumi who seemed okay, I was still dying slowly and surely inside. The fear comes, you step out, certain things that will trigger you. And every time that happened, there was always no, it's not it, calm down, let's be okay, let's move on. It was a lot of that. I refused to go back to that space where I felt Tumi was dead, so why must we even entertain that? From there I went through a period where I had to then acknowledge that it really did happen. Did it not because I wanted to, but it happened. I'm lying in ICU, and I had this assistant nurse who kept asking me very weird questions. Like, we had this very weird conversation around how the living feel pain and those who are dead don't. And the fact that I'm feeling this pain means I'm alive, and therefore something needs to give.
Sure.
And at that point, I remember also going back to basics. I went back to a point where I was like, okay, I've tried it my way so many times and it hasn't worked. Which way are we going to try now? And I like saying that this is the point in my life where I reunited with God again. Because after that incident happened, I was like, but what kind of a father are you to allow this to happen? And you can quote as many scriptures as you want to quote. How could you and still call yourself a father? So it took me a very long time to get to a point where I said, okay, show me that you are that father. Show me that you are the one who heals, the one who restores.
Sure.
Show me. Make it make sense again for me. I've tried it my way and I haven't been able to get over this. I haven't been able to deal with it. I haven't been able to even say it out loud because it was just that bad. But here we are today, here we are now, right? And I'm saying, show me again. After that, I had to then do the work. I always say that you can pray to God as much as you want to. He will meet you at the point of your need, but you need to be doing the work as well.
100%.
If you look at every other miracle that has happened, you had to play your part and he played his part. So while I called on him to say, help, I knew that I needed to do the actual work. I knew that I had to wake up in the morning and start dealing with Tumi internally. And going back to that point of that young girl who had just finished her matric and is looking forward to this life, and say, let's pick up those pieces of that girl from that day and saying, let's find purpose in living again. And acknowledging the hurt and actually having to work through each and every single feeling and allowing myself to feel it and wanting to become better, working to become better in many different ways. It meant, at times it was as little as just go to the gym and just run it off. Go to a kick class and just kick the daylights out of anything and everyone that's in there, and just allow yourself to go through the journey. But it had to be intentional. I knew that if I don't
God
choose,
as a healer eventually.
and I did, right?
Wow.
When I say the healer, the restorer, I wasn't just calling that.
Yeah.
I was calling him on that because I trusted him to be that. And he came back and he said, "You want me to show you? Let's show you."
I love it.
And now we've got Tumi here.
I love it, Tumi. Absolutely, quite an encouraging story. And Clement, just before I let you go, if you could just share with us contact details for those who are, right now needing the help. They're sitting in that situation. Maybe it's a mother and her children or whatever the case is, and they need help. They need a way out. Where can they reach out to?
Reach out to your nearest police station. Most people I know, they don't know that police stations, they have what you call victim-friendly rooms, where you can be allocated a social worker who can assist you with your case for free. And then the beautiful thing is, when you go to a police station, you can also open a case in connection to whatever that's happening in your life. And then if you want to make a call, you can call 0800 428 428. 0800 428 428. This is the government hotline, and you can also visit www.gbv.org.co.za.
Sure, I could keep you